Welcome back to Echo Base Network, where our mission is to keep Star Wars alive and remember why we loved it in the first place. The news just came out just the other day about Rian Johnson saying that he wants to direct an episode of The Mandalorian. You guys have seen it. Many content creators have hit on it. What we're going to do is do a little deep dive, offer a little bit of analysis, and go back and look at some other things that have happened that doesn't quite line up. Is Rian Johnson delusional? That is what we're going to look at. I'm going to bring in my partner here at Echo Base Network, Nick, who had an amazing live stream last night covering this very topic.
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I kind of went over some of the stuff, and then we ended up talking about old retro video games and game chasers and all kinds of different stuff.
Oh, yeah. We do that stuff. So anyways, guys, just a few days ago, like we mentioned, this news came out. Well, let's go back first. Why are we even talking about Sariah Wilson? Who is Sariah Wilson? If you go back all the way to February 15th, you see her post here. She's the person who is interviewing Rian Johnson, or rather who interviewed Rian Johnson, and she is basically drip dropping this information very slowly, just a little bit at a time. So here's what she said in February. I'm just going to post this now because I can see that I'm going to get a lot of requests. Yes, Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is still on. No dates or timelines because he has other projects going on, but it is happening. That is all I know about it. Well, that's really interesting. Miss Wilson, author and self-proclaimed Star Wars fan, is releasing her interview piece by piece, like we said. Mm-hmm. Today, Nick and I are going to look at exactly what she has said, bring up what some well-known industry insiders have said about this, and offer our analysis. We want to start right here with this is the actual news. This is what happened. Sariah Wilson tweeted just a couple days ago, I asked Rian if he'd ever consider doing an episode of The Mandalorian. He said he was dying to, but that for him, it's all about scheduling. He's been writing Knives Out 2, and now he's going to go directly into filming it, so it would be a matter of finding time to break away and do it. He said he has spoken to Dave Filoni about it. He had gone and visited the set during season 1. He said it was so cool, and I told him I was very jealous. He had seen Baby Yoda months before the reveal. He said it was fascinating. So right there, Nick, as you can imagine, the fans got in an uproar. Rian Johnson touching Star Wars again in any capacity is pretty much the last thing that we want. He has a great deal to do with the position that Star Wars is in right now because of the freedoms that Kathleen Kennedy, for whatever reason, gave him, all this creative control, and she gave the man too much rope. Well, the story continues. There was some backlash after she tweeted this information out, and then Sariah Wilson says, now I kind of hope Rian directs every episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. If you don't like what I'm doing or want to mock how I'm doing it, please feel free to ignore me and go on about your life. I promise you'll feel better. So she's getting really defensive there, Nick, and she even follows that up with, at the bottom here, my publicist said when it came out, don't read the comments. I told her I'm familiar with Star Wars Twitter, so I already know better. Well, it sounds to me like she doesn't really take her own advice because she's definitely getting defensive there. And she has to know that the fan base does not approve of Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is, if you want to play on the internet, you better have some thick skin and be able to take some harsh criticism from people because it's coming. You know,
oh, absolutely.
We get it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so does anybody else on the internet. You gotta let that stuff roll off your back and freaking just, you know, do
Echo Base Network and that clickbait video that we did yesterday. I didn't intend for it to be clickbait at all, but you know, that's anyways. What did Miss Wilson, back to the story, think was going to happen on April 12th? She actually tweeted, wherever Kathleen Kennedy is, I hope she's having a fantastic day whilst being very gainfully employed. This lady has an agenda, and I'm talking about Sariah Wilson. It's to poke fun and to prod the fans. She's one of the fans who Star Wars. She's in the minority here. She's a Star Wars fan who is in the minority here. A sequel trilogy defender, a High Republic fan. She also has an apparent liking for Kylo Ren or Adam Driver. And if you scroll through her Twitter feed, Nick, there's absolute no doubt about it. She is a Reylo. Like there's 100%. Just go look. So
Reylos are weird.
That's whose interview we're reading. You know, a Reylo. Like, I'm not kidding, guys. Go look at her Twitter feed, and if Miss Wilson, if you see this video, come on here and tell us that we're wrong, and we'd love to have the conversation. But I don't think that you would do that. But anyways, the few people who are on her side, and the media especially, Nick, they keep using this word divisive over and over and over. You hear it over and over again. I was listening to John Campia's live show today where he's talking about Rian Johnson, and even John Campia is using the word divisive over and over. And as I read that, I really think this word is misleading the way that they're using it. And writers and the media, they should know better, but they can't help it when they have an agenda. The word actually means tending to cause disagreement or hostility between people. Well, I get where they're saying. I think it's improper word usage because they use it like Rian Johnson is divisive because he makes the fan base go against the fan base. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are sequel trilogy fans. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are Rian Johnson fans. You are a very small minority, so divisive is not the word that I would use. To carry on with that, divisive issues are abortion, gun control, not The Last Jedi was garbage. I can't roll with that. That's you got to come up with a better word when you're talking about this movie. Well, with this situation, there are some related pieces of news that I want to bring up. The comment about Rian Johnson speaking with Dave Filoni, that's been big news. I know you talked about it in the live stream last night.
Yep.
Dave Filoni has got a lot of fans riled up with some of the things that he's done, while Mr. Filoni has a lot of the fans' trust. Most of the fans don't trust him completely. Wouldn't you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, and I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I am too. One of the things that Filoni did that didn't help him was talking about the impact Rian Johnson had on him in getting him to move over to doing live action. Dave Filoni had spent the bulk of his career doing animated series, and he's on the set of The Last Jedi under Rian Johnson's wing, and Rian Johnson's like showing him the camera and look through here, and he's teaching him things. He became Rian Johnson's protege, and Dave Filoni really talked about, Rian Johnson really helped me out. Well, right. I'm not going to argue and say that Rian Johnson's not an accomplished director, but what I am going to say here, my take on this whole thing is, I hope that while Dave Filoni was learning how to be a producer of a live-action show, I'm hoping that he also learned what not to do. Yeah. That's going to be really important. You don't just take everything that you learn and everything that you see and copy it. You take the good that you can use and you stay away from the bad, and there's certainly a lot of bad. And I hope, Dave, if you're watching, I hope you understand that. And Nick, I'm going to wrap this up, but this is going to be my last point, and we're going to get your take. No matter what, fans of Star Wars, let not your hearts be troubled, because remember a few months ago where friend to Echo Base Network, Hollywood producer, Hollywood writer, none other than Mr. Cameron Pasha, who had this to say. This is just a few months ago. He says that he has friends who are on the inside, and Cameron's never lied to us. Like, he's a very honest person in the industry. Yeah. He says George Lucas and Jon Favreau both hated The Last Jedi. And then he followed that up saying that Jon Favreau commented that Star Wars was out of control during the time of The Last Jedi, and he was begging to be involved to help the IP. Now, what I want to ask you, Nick, is this Rian Johnson delusion? Is this the media with an agenda? Is Dave Filoni an enemy to the fandom? What is your take on this?
So my take on this is, I you know, Filoni by himself, I think is not too far off from Kathleen Kennedy and her story group. If he's on his own, he's been on record of being on the side of the feminist agenda and all that sort of crap. I mean, there's tons and tons of different comments that he's made that's all public knowledge. Where he's pushed a lot of that. He pushed a lot of those ideas in the sequel trilogy. And was on board with all that. Jon Favreau is sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of like the balance to that. He kind of, I think, steers people away from that, or steers Filoni away from a lot of that stuff. And this is just my opinion. I don't know if any of this is true, of course, but just speculation on my part. But I have way more faith and trust in Favreau and what he's accomplished and done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so far, what he's done with the Mandalorian. Even though I do have my own criticisms of the Mandalorian, I'm just really, at the end of the day, I'm more on the side of Jon Favreau than I am Dave Filoni. Rian Johnson directing, I don't really have an issue with his skill as a director. I do agree that he shouldn't have any part with anything to do with Star Wars. But if he directed one episode of The Mandalorian, that he had no input or no direction on any of the writing or any of the characters or any of that, I really wouldn't get too up in arms about it. Right. Personally. But I'm also in agreement that he needs to just not be involved with Star Wars at all.
Well, actually, Nick, I was watching John Campia's live show today, and Campia himself said he praised Johnson for his skill in being a director, but he said that Rian Johnson does not need to touch Star Wars because it's bad for the brand. He said it's bad for Rian Johnson, it's bad for Star Wars, it does not need to happen. And conversely to that, Robert Meyer Burnett was on there, and he actually said, well, John, if I am working for Lucasfilm, I hire him. And, he said, what's going to make Star Wars any worse? It's self-promotion. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And, but then he went on to say, if this kind of thing were to happen, just like you're saying, there's no way that Favreau, and we hope Filoni, is going to give him creative control. The script is going to be written by Favreau. Yeah. And you're going to do what Favreau wants. And just like everybody else did. So is it dangerous? No. Does it leave a bad taste in the fans' mouth? Does it, bring back a lot of bad memories? Certainly. So that is kind of my take.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't go crazy over the fact if he directed one episode. But this lady saying that his trilogy is going to happen and he should direct every single episode of season 3 of Mandalorian, that's definitely not going to happen. His trilogy is never going to happen.
That, my friend, is delusion.
Yeah.
That's wishful thinking on Aurelio's part.
Yeah.
And maybe that's Rian Johnson trying to save face.
Yeah. I mean, Last Jedi came out 4 years ago. Disney just announced a ton of Star Wars content that's going to be coming out over the next, 5 to 10 years?
Oh, he can't work it in his schedule, Nick. Come on, give him a break.
Yeah, he can't work it in his schedule.
He can't work Star Wars into his schedule.
Yeah, it's not happening. I mean, and I've heard people say this before, and I think it's true. They're never going to announce that his trilogy is not happening. No. It'll never happen. It's just going to just one day everybody will just kind of forget about it and be like, whatever happened to that Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy. Well,
He's
I
going
don't
to get a
know.
Knives Out trilogy. That's what he's going to get.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen like 15 years ago, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Good point. Well, guys, let us know in the comments what you think about this. Is Rian Johnson delusional? What do you think about the Raylo spreading this information on Twitter and her little interview that she did? Certainly, I'm going to have to agree with Campea. Do you agree with John Campea that it's bad for the brand? I certainly agree with that. I think it's overwhelmingly going to be in that direction. But anyways, guys, as always, we are and you are Echo Base Network. I am the coach, and he is Nick. Come and see us every Saturday night as we live stream from 7 o'clock to the wee hours of the morning. And that's going to do it for us. We are out.
We'll see you guys in the next video.